Welcome back to Fixing My Faith. My name is Vern Houle. I'm from Canada. And I'm an ex Jehovah's Witness. I was in the organization here for 30 years. I spent the last part of my Jehovah's Witness career working unassigned territories in the Arctic of Canada. Pretty cold up there. And then it was soon that I found that some of the stories I brought back, the stories of lore from these Indigenous communities, were quite interesting to me, and I thought they really paralleled to the Bible in a unique way. And I brought these back, and it was soon I was demonized, along with all of the stories. And it appears that the Jehovah's Witnesses want to come into each of the communities, the Indigenous communities, and colonialize them. They want to reform them, throw away, demonize all their indigenous beliefs, and then conform them to their beliefs. And they are working. It is working. They are reaching some of these communities. They put a kingdom hall up in one, and a couple, and in some of these other communities, families are spreading, friends are breaking up because the Jehovah's Witnesses are inculcating their indoctrination into the communities. And it will be soon that these communities, if they allow this, that they will lose their stories of lore. They will all become history, and no one will pass them on because of all this colonialization by the Jehovah's Witness religion. It confuses people. So this is why we have a petition in this video. If you go to the descriptions in Canada, and we're speaking out, and we're stopping charity. We're asking the government to stop treating these organizations as charities because they have a lot of other issues that you might not be aware of. For instance, there's a lot of deaths, over 30,000 it's estimated, because of refusing medical treatments. And a lot of the janitors and window washers in the Jehovah's Witness religion, because they don't agree with higher education, these become elders because they view them as humble. And the elders make decisions when it comes to medical procedures, and they say no blood transfusions, so people die. And there's no beards. It's a cult. It goes back to Rutherford. He was put in jail for sedition because he was against the governments. He called the governments all wild beasts. But yet the Jehovah's Witnesses come to the governments and they want charity status. They want, you see all the grounds in the video. This is all their grounds, all tax-free. And it's causing the governments a lot of pain. But we as citizens, we have to speak out, and we have to say our piece. And part of being a citizen is pointing out wrongdoings. And that's what we're doing here. And it's happening all over the world with Jehovah's Witnesses. In fact, we're going to look at right here the Dutch news in Holland. And this is fairly recent, Friday, 31st, March 31st, Friday the 31st of March 2023. So, yes, that's very recent. Jehovah's Witnesses abuse victims unhappy at a lack of care, report shows. So it's happening in Holland. A report by the Utrecht University researchers into sexual abuse within the Jehovah's Witness community in the Netherlands has found that most victims are unhappy the way their complaints have been dealt with by the church. The researchers received 751 reports of abuse, ranging from incest to rape, of which 292 were made by the victims themselves. Just 25% of the victims said they were satisfied with the way their complaints against the community had been handled, and only 27% of the cases were ever passed on to the police or to other officials. Most of the reports related to the abuse in the past, with just 32 covering the past 10 years. The Dutch branch went to court to try to stop the publications of the report, but judges on Thursday ruled that it could be published in the public interest. The research, so see Jehovah's Witnesses, lawyers all over the earth, lawyers. The Watchtower is at war with every country. And here, this just became news, public news in Holland. So it says here the researchers were commissioned to write a report on behalf of the Justice Ministry following claims that sexual abuse claims are hushed up and that victims received no help. And that's what's happening here in Canada. It's happening all over the world. And remember, folks, the Bible says whatever is hidden will be revealed. And that's what God promises, and that's what's happening. And we're living in that time. And it says here, after the first revelations were published by the Troe in 2017, hundreds of people came forward to report their own abuse stories. Justin Minister Sander Decker earlier called for the Jehovah's Witnesses to set up their own independent inquiry, but the church declined. So here you have Jehovah's organization, God's organization, is covering up sexual abuse. They're declining to work with the governing authorities. As Romans 13:1 says, we should be working with the governments and the authorities. So they declined. So he then commissioned his own report, the government, the justice minister. The first investigation is first of its kind ever undertaking into a religious community in the Netherlands. So here's the action. The minister has now criticized the board's reaction, saying sect officials still deny that they need to take action. The board was shown the main conclusions last December. Rather than being open and acknowledging what has happened, the community, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they call them the community, tried to stop the publication. So here they're trying to stop this bad press, of course. So Decker said in the briefing to the MPs, the fact that so many vulnerable victims feel that they're alone and could not find their way to official help affects me deeply. Now, just so you know, folks, in the description below, we have all helplines for coming out of religion. It's all free. You can call anywhere in the world if you're having trouble, you want some help, and they will link you up. They have a database. They will link you up with groups and so forth. So there is help on the way. This is becoming more available, and we are advertising it. So it goes on to say that the board is still resisting pressure to set up an independent hotline. And Decker, so this is the Jehovah's Witness board, I'm thinking. Decker said, I now want to have a last urgent meeting with the board to call on them to take over the report's conclusion, he said. And in their conclusion, the URTech researchers have also urged Parliament to draft new legislation which would require religious communities to inform the police when they are told about cases of abuse. And isn't that what it should be? And Decker did not mention this option in his briefing. So so there you go. There's the Dutch news. It's public today. So it's all starting to happen. The Watchtower, all this news is being revealed. The Watchtower cannot hide. The Watchtower is working directly against God, trying to hide this. We talked about this in some of our previous videos. Now here's another one. CNA. So we talked about Holland. Now we're going to move over to Sweden. Now it says here, new subsidy laws might pose threat for religious communities in Sweden. Well, let's see what this is all about. There's a picture of the court in Sweden. Very nice. That's what I'm thinking. Or is that a church? What does it say? It is Sunday service at the Gutas Vasa Church in Stockholm. So this is a church. Holy smokes. They didn't spare any dime in putting that church together. And you think this is all volunteer money. This is all money people that send into these churches, all volunteer money. Why all the lavishness? Why all the gold structure and all of these things? Is it helping the poor? Is it helping people? We're going to look at this here in a few minutes, right from the Bible. Well, let's read this article. It says the new subsidies bill from the Swedish government threatens to endanger religious freedom. The government writes that pastors should be able to express their opinion on a particular behavior. However, conversion therapy and choice of life partner are mentioned explicitly in the draft law. The government recently submitted the bill to the Riksdag Varling reports, according to the Swedish news magazine. The bill's content can potentially be problematic for religious communities who hold on to the traditional and biblical view on sexuality and marriage. Enough, though, the bill explicitly states that religious believers are allowed to tell people what the community's opinion on specific behavior is. It also reads that presenting threats of exclusion due to choice of life partner, so that's disfellowshipping, or referring to conversion therapy is not allowed. These statements can be enough for religious communities to be denied government grants. Interesting. So we'll post this link. We'll put all these links. in our descriptions below. The government acknowledges that this denial of subsidy may conflict with the religious freedom. However, it also points out that restrictions on religious freedoms are valid as long as they are necessary for public security, the protection of public order, health, morals, or to protect the freedom and rights of other people. It is thereby quotes the European Convention. Well, that's what they said. Okay. So, furthermore, the Legislative Council, which assesses the feasibility of draft laws, stated that the requirements might violate the freedom of expression. However, it justifies the grant law by saying it does not mean that all statements should be compatible with the state support. What the exact consequences of the law are for pastoral work, for example, is still unclear. However, Varden-Ilag expects the congregation will lose their grants if they refuse memberships to people based on their choice of life partner. The changes to the grant law are to be implemented on January. So really, it's talking about life partner. Let's say two men wanted to get married, two women wanted to get married. All these churches are going to say no, so they're going to lose all their grants. Cool, and I think they should lose their grants. All these churches, and I think we're in Canada. We have the petition here. We got to start looking at this. All these countries. We looked at Norway, and Norway's taken action. So now we're going to look at one more. Actually, two more, but this is kind of a funny one. High Court, this is in Zimbabwe. High Court hears Jehovah's Witnesses trio harassed and ostracized for refusing to participate in rainmaking ritual, convicted by the village headman. I'm just reading this. So here it is. 3 members of Jehovah's Witness Church recently won a case at the Matar High Court where they were challenging forced participation in a traditional rainmaking ceremony, which was against their conscience. The court ruled in favor of the Tobias Gabaza Wonder, whatever that name is, about this tribe, who suffered the discrimination for refusing to participate in the religious ceremony that violated their beliefs. So what is that? The court held favor for, maybe that's the JWs. In October 2020, the trio was summoned to appear before a village court presided over by headmen after another official insisted that they contribute to an indigenous ceremony. The event involves invoking the spirits of the dead with the intention of bringing seasonal rain, and each villager is expected to contribute. Our brothers made the decision based on their Bible-trained conscience to decline the participation in the ceremony, said the church said to Jehovah's Witnesses on its official website. The village chief ruled against our brothers and threatened them, attempting to coerce them to comply. Our brothers chose to appeal to the magistrate court in the village. On January 5th, 2021, the magistrate court ruled in favor of the brothers, so they won. However, the village officials refused to obey the court's decision and continued to pressure our brothers. Additionally, other villagers began to ostracize and mistreat them. Since the brothers, the JWs, continued to face discrimination, they appealed to the High Court. The court acknowledged that the village officials violated the brothers' rights. It also ordered the village officials to exempt our brothers from any traditional activities that violated their conscience and to pay them damages. It is expected that this ruling will benefit the brothers and sisters living in Zimbabwe as these traditions are observed throughout the countries. And what I think has to happen, so this one, the JWs won, and not that anybody can force anybody to believe in anything, but what's happening is Jehovah's Witnesses are getting into these communities, infiltrating them. It's colonialism, and they're demonizing all of these people's things, their stories, their experiences. And it's happening here in Canada, and it's wrong. You take the story of the 2 wolves within. There's a parallel to Paul's example in the Bible about how we battle inside ourselves, the works of the flesh and the works of the spirit. It's like a battle within. Well, it's the same as the story of the 2 wolves within. We have a white wolf, a dark wolf. It's a battle within. So when we start demonizing and knocking down other cultures because we believe we have the truth, that's colonialism. And that's what Jehovah's Witnesses are doing. And that's why this article is so important to talk about. Now we're going to move forward. Bitter Winter. It's a bitter winter. You'd think that they're run by the Jehovah's Witness religion, but they actually are a magazine on religious liberty and human rights. And we do need organizations like Bitter Winter pushing for freedoms. You know, we don't want to live in a world that like the Nazi regime, right? We don't want that. So we do have groups like this, and we thank them for their good work. But we do want them to be aware of some of the groups that they're protecting, like the Jehovah's Witnesses. Because as we just read, the Jehovah's Witnesses are covering up a lot of sex abuse cases. They're killing a lot of people with refusal for medical treatment, such as blood transfusions. And they have no basis for any of this stuff from the scriptures. They're shunning families, fathers are shunning sons, and sons are shunning fathers, and so on and so forth. And they're breaking families up. And the Bible does not promote this. It says to honor parents. Build families up, strengthen families. Families are the strength of our communities, not the Jehovah's Witness headquarters. That is not strong. Stephen Lett says babies are evil right from the platform. Uses that as an example. Why would you do that? But this is the cult that Jehovah's Witnesses are. So I always, my advice to Bitter Winter is to actually really look at some of this stuff and look deeper. And none of these guys are. I looked on their site. It doesn't say any of them are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, so they don't really know. We could have the Jehovah's Witness news media feeding these guys with all kinds of crap. So that's what I think's happening, more or less. So I don't want to come too hard on Bitter Winter because they're doing a good job, but I do want them to examine what they're saying about Jehovah's Witnesses. Now this one here is how do you say that? Latvia? Latvia. That's how you say this. Latvia. Following Russia, threatens to liquidate the Jehovah's Witnesses. So here's another country, and they're looking at Russia. And so these guys are reporting on it, Bitter Winter, and they're reporting on it to protect Jehovah's Witnesses. But they don't understand that Latva is actually doing a good work. But because this organization covers up too many pedophiles, and we can rant all we want on this, but it's in the news. Holland's talking about it, Norway, Pennsylvania. It's all coming out, and it is a cult. But it is good to know that this other country as well, just like Russia, they're clamping down on these cults, because they're sick and tired of it. Why are we giving these cults charity status? Why are we allowing them tax benefits? It's not fair. They don't even want to be classified as a religion, yet they want all of the religious and clergy benefits. They're a cult. So we just have to start treating them like a cult. And they look nice on the outside, but they don't worship Jesus. They worship Jehovah. Jehovah's a plastic name. It's not the name of Yahweh. It came about. It's their name. So it's a cult. So now, obligation of a Christian. Let's go to the real Bibles on this. And we think, what is a Christian? What is a church? What are they obligated to do? And this is what they're not doing all over the world. We're just going to look at a few scriptures. James 1:27. A religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this, to visit orphans, widows in their affliction, and to keep ones unstained from the world. Now, if you look up the word visit, it means in the original Greek to help. It means to go there and help. If you were visiting an orphan and a widow and they were starving, and you walked away and say, pat them on the shoulder, have a good day, see you later. That's not what that means. It means you're going there with a food bank, and you're going there with bread and food, and you're helping. That's what this means. And most religions on earth do not do this. They're about buying real estate. And we see that with the Jehovah's Witnesses. We're going to show you a little bit about where their money is going. But let's go to 1 Timothy. But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he's denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. So the Jehovah's Witnesses household is their religious organization. That's why they're getting charity status. Their household is their religious organization. But yet, when their Bethel workers are too old, when someone gets hurt, they have to move out of Bethel and go to the governments for help. And they haven't paid into any of the benefits because they run as a charity and they all work for free, and no one's paying into CCP because the end's coming any day now. Who's thinking about the future? And that's the problem with this cult. Now let's carry on. Romans 13:8. Owe no one anything except to love each other, for he who loves one another has fulfilled the law. So how can you love ones that you're killing by telling them to die because they need a blood transfusion? How can you love ones that you kick out, you apostatize because they just had a question or spoke out or shared their Indigenous story? How can that be love? It's not love. This organization's a cult. It's a high control cult. It fits the bite model. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It's all over. Romans 13:3. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. So we talked about Romans talked about obey God, and obey God puts the rulers in charge. We're to obey the rulers. So here in Romans 13:3, for the rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad conduct. You see, and that's what's happening here. Jehovah's Witnesses feel like poor me, bitter winners coming in, and poor Jehovah's Witnesses, but yet they're hiding all the pedophile cases. And that's what Holland's doing, Pennsylvania's doing. It's happening all over the world. Jehovah's Witnesses were condemning the Catholic Church, the Catholic priests. At least the Catholics came up and said, okay, we got a problem. We dealt with it, and they dealt with it. The Jehovah's Witnesses are fighting at one legal battle at a time. And they're going to lose because they're fighting God. And that's what's happening. We're seeing the crumble. We're seeing it happen. And here's another one, Matthew 7:1, judge not that you be not judged. So the biggest judges out there are the Jehovah's Witnesses. They come to their door. They're the only ones with the truth. You're in the lie. You're on the false. They're Jehovah. It's the way. And it's all about judging. I've been in it for 30 years. I was judged out of it. So judge not that you may not be judged. So what do we see happening? They're getting judged. What you reap, what you sow is what you reap. So they've been judging, and now they're getting judged back by the whole world. Deuteronomy. If among you one of your brothers should become poor, so this is talking to the Bethelites and the circuit overseers, district overseers, in any of your towns within your land that your Lord God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart or shut up your hand against your poor brother, but you shall open your hand to him and lend him sufficient for his need, whatever it may be. That's what a religion is supposed to do. But the Jehovah's Witnesses kick them out and say, hey, family members, you guys, it's your responsibility. Shame on Watchtower. And that's why Watchtower has to be shut down as a charity. Now, why? Here's what Charity Canada says. Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, X, F, and low. Financial transparency, X. Results for reporting, F. Demonstrated impact, low. And then we go to Watchtower charity data in Canada here, Bloomberg's, and it shows all the money that they siphon through. And it actually shows a little bit of a spreadsheet from 2013 to 2022. And what I noticed, I went right to the bottom, 2003, they had 88 million, and now they have 150 million. So they're growing in the amount of real estate assets. It says total assets. And they're a real estate company, so that's really all they're reporting on is their real estate. And here's all the directors: Dale Clark, it shows it all. Jung, I know Rodney Jung. He was running across Canada with his neatly combed hair, doing all the talks. Nice speaking guy, good guy probably, but he's working for the wrong organization here. He's covering up pedophile cases. So we'll probably be dealing with Rodney in the future because he's right here at the top. And Walter Tribuk, who is he? Some kind of a lawyer, we're not sure. But anyways, they're all listed. This is all public information, and that's the beauty of the internet. So folks, I invite you to look at this avoidjw.org. It's a Canadian site. And I just started looking at it. So there's a lot of news on here as well. We'll put this link in, and it keeps us up to date on a lot of what's happening with the Jehovah's Witness religion. Well, thanks again, folks. And until next time, keep living your life with love. Bye for now.